Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So it's like coming back and delivering a session in my own institute. I am you can say I'm a of I am always a student from Ramdev Baba College and a faculty from Department of Management Technology, Sri Ramdev Baba College of Engineering and Management. Currently pursuing my postdoctoral research fellowship at State Bank Institute of Leadership, and it's happy to deliver a session on life skills, which is a current need and much needed topic to be discussed amongst peers, colleagues, friends, and relatives, and everyone. So, before initiating with what exactly life skills are and why do we need to have a dedicated session, as we are seeing that National Education Policy, AICTE, are all of these maybe are stressing upon holding sessions, developing students, faculties on the front of life skills. So the main important point here is that life skills are something which people should possess, should know what are they, and should be able to make most of their life out of it. So the basic definition of life skills, what they are exactly, is that if you are present in every day of your life and you are able to have been like you are living every day of your life, then you possess desired life skills. So there is no particular formula for the same. Like maybe I would want to ask from the audience that what is the recent thing, maybe an appliance or a vehicle or something which you have purchased? Anyone? What is the one purchase you have made recently, like you have purchased just now, new? A car, maybe a home appliance, anything. We go for regular purchases of required and desired things for our day to day needs. Those things are coming up with us with a manual, and that manual tells us that how you are going to make best use of the product which you have purchased. That is same with life skills. Life skills tell us that how you are going to make most use of your life by using and by living every day in a proper and a desired manner. Moving ahead is that there are various studies which have been making a point that what are the important life skills that one should possess. I'll share the presentation here. And the most important life skills are, we can say, researched upon, discussed upon, and then there is a list from World Health Organization that they are specifying 10 core life skills. So we'll be discussing them. Along with the complete session will be stressing light upon what is the concept mainly, what is the relevance of life skills, and how are these skills important for us. Then we'll see what WHO has to say about 10 core life skills which they have come up with. Then, having been delivering sessions on life skills and related skills which are required by leader and anybody and everybody in everyday's life, I did some literature review and review of research on required life skills which are necessary from my point of view, which should be there. Those I'll be sharing with you. Then we'll be discussing upon foundations and originators for future generations, that how they have been shifting from what it was earlier and what it is now. Then we'll be looking at some action points as a faculty, why we are studying this topic and how we can take it to the implementation level, like we always are, and everybody is talking about adaptation aspect of everything. So what are the action points as a faculty, which we are required to make and take while we are dealing with students, teaching them, and making them a better person. Then we will also be discussing upon desired life skills for current generation, so that we are aware that whom we'll be dealing with as a faculty, as a mentor, as a guide, who are and with what perspective this generation is coming up, and then what are the changing landscape of life skills for such generations, and desired skills will change. Coming up with some facts, like when I was studying about this particular topic, life skills, which is a very big thing, but summed up in a two-word title, that around 80% of humans who talk in groups are actually complaining. We must be, and in fact, we already. And when we are talking in groups, like while having lunch, while discussing, while having tea or coffee and discussing with our colleagues, are maybe that is the professional part. And at the personal front, while we are speaking or talking to our relative, friend, or anybody, most of the conversation part which we are doing is about complaining one or the other thing. That is one. Another is 85% of current generation is spending its time on mobile phones. Why we are discussing and taking these different angles all together and deliberating upon, because how these things have changed we have to see, and then we have to see how is the total shift in life skills has happened. Like, we are already aware that basic life skills are emotional intelligence, stress management, time management, and so. But we are lagging behind to understand that what are the new types of skills which are required. Like, people do not have much of time in their daily schedule and life. Considering a simple example of everyday life, you are in a traffic jam and your car is stuck in between, and there are other vehicles which are not letting you move forward or backward, and so. And there is somebody who again is in a car at your back, and then honking horn and continuously irritating you. What is the most and the common reaction which we see under such situation is that people get angry, they respond, they use foul language and talk, and then they behave in a manner which is totally undesirable. This is one type of people I'm talking about. Other section of people will keep quiet. They are not bothered about anything what is going on, who is honking horn and saying what or nothing. Then they will be at their own pace, mood, and whenever whenever it is suitable for them to move forward, they will take a move. Third part of people are they'll be talking in amongst each other, like a co-driver, and they themselves will be speaking against or about bad about the other person who is honking horn. So I'm not judging here on which behavior is correct and which is not. I'm not also throwing any light on that how you should behave or what is the ideal one out of the three. But the point here is that they three of them have different perspectives for sure. And it's a very common sight which we are looking at and experiencing every day. And also that there should be something which should come from within to have this sort of a behavior is or not as a judgment by you yourself. That is what we'll be discussing in the due course of the session. Then again, the third fact which I want to share with you all is 80% of people write their names when they are asked to try a new pen. These are factual studies, research statistics, which I'm sharing with you all, are specifying that 80% of people write their names when they are asked to try a new pen. So, for example, if somebody is giving me a pen, I'll first try and write my name and try that pen, that how that this pen is working. So, what does that imply? This implies that people are having this awareness that nobody is as important or as maybe the first thought in your mind when it comes to having something new to be done. Next, India and Indians. India is having this record, and statistics shows that Indians are the second most sleep deprived people. Now you must be wondering that how these points are relevant in a life skill session, which we'll be connecting in due course, and I'll let you know that how these things are having connection. Then sleep deprivation reduces your cognitive ability too. These are all studies which are saying. So just keep these points in mind, and by the end of the session, we will come back to this slide and discuss that how they were relevant and what should be done and what is the ideal thing which is expected here. As I am moving on with another slide, I would ask the audience if you have any question. You just have to interrupt and ask, because I am not able to see you all as my screen is showing the slide. And so, so moving forward, there are certain aspects which are related to having a proper background and knowledge of life skills which are important for us, because we cannot say that these are life skills and by the time we'll be experiencing them and then people will learn, like we call or we say it for our kids as well. Parents usually say time ke sath seekh jayega. That is not an acceptable point at all. And specifically when you are dealing with an era which is changing every day, every minute, and you are not in a position to gauge what will happen next, right? So this is how we are brought up, but not how we will or we are required to have the approach continued anymore. Because the reason here is that there are many and quite a lot of changes that has happened, and they are required and they are forcing us to change our outlook and approach towards everything we are doing day in and day out. Like simple example, for example, we have been hearing from the past, that is from our times, that don't take negative comments from people. Anybody who is saying anything negative to you, don't take that. That energy is not required. So for instance, somebody's saying you, how stupid is your comment, there's no content in it. So I'm not going to take that comment at all, because that's a negative comment and I know that I'm not stupid. So I am rest assured that that comment is not worth to be taken, and I'll just ignore that by that way. That is one which we have been hearing, which we have been practicing, and it has worked a lot for us. Like we do not take anything negative from anybody, and we are happy for that. That is done, bingo. And second aspect is that you are not affecting yourself by anybody else or anyone's thoughts. Accepted, practiced, adopted, and results are in front of you, that we are successful as well. But now this time, generations have changed, people have changed, approaches are different, and life spending, life skills sets have been revised drastically. Now this generation and coming and generations, and including our approach, requires that you should be highly self-aware. WHO has rated self-awareness as the number one life skill of 10 core life skills they have stated in their report. Why? Because self-awareness is something which will tell me that what is I am going to take from somebody and what is not I'm not going to take or reject, rather in a better manner. From not taking negative comments, not taking positive comments is what I think also. So if somebody is saying, wow, what a wonderful addition, and you are a very knowledgeable and intelligent person, so I say, and my recommendation as a counselor, as a guide, as a mentor is always that if you are not taking a negative comment from a person, you should not take the positive comment from anyone as well. Because it is not somebody else who will tell me how wonderful I am. As I know that I'm not stupid, I also know that how much wonderful I am, my approaches or my intelligence is, and so. So as we are not taking a negative comment from a person, we should not be taking a positive one from other person also. As we are aware that we are not negative on certain fronts, we should also be aware that on what fronts we are positive. Because I am self aware. And it's not that somebody else should tell me that how intelligent or how positive or any aspect from the point of view you are extending to some other person. Here, I would want to mention and clarify that I'm not asking you to be ungrateful to anybody's compliment towards you. It's not by being ungrateful, it is by being taking into your head. Like you did not take a negative comment from a person, you should not be taking a positive comment on your head. Maybe it's genuine or not, we are not getting there. But the point here is nobody else should tell you every time that what all positive qualities you possess. You should be aware of them. That is the first and the foremost requirement. We say the prerequisite of entering into self-awareness zone, and that is how you should be. I will even say, ask audience if they do not subscribe to my thoughts or if they do want to add something, they can interrupt and share. Please do. Moving forward, we will see that what WHO has to say about it. Why I'm right from the beginning insisting on these 10 core life skills is the reason behind is that these core life skills are worldwide accepted. It's not something which is only suitable to the setting of a particular nation or a particular segment of person or a gender or something, but this has to be, and this is like that all over the world. These are the 10 core life skills which are highly appreciated, accepted, and recommended to somebody to have. Now, first is problem solving. Problem solving as a life skill, if we are asking somebody to possess, is that the person should be in a position to solve any problem or any situation which appears in front of him. While we ask students, while we teach them, we want that these students should have that much of capacity and knowledge build up that even if or any problem which appears in front of them, they are in a position to solve and take a decision at. First, critical thinking goes adjacent, or you can say hand in hand, with problem solving. Problem solving comes with a additional skill requirement, that is critical thinking. The better you are in point number 2 or skill number 2, the better will be your performance in point number 1. Third, effective communication skills. Now, we have been talking about these skills like communication, coping with stress, emotional intelligence. But how are we going to apply them? Or how are we looking at them from the point of view of life skills is important. So first we'll be doing and looking at how as an individual I am required to harness these skills. And second, after that, after having them adopted, how I am able to pass on to the next generation, that is your kids, your students, and so whomever you meet in your life, that way. So effective communication comes with three parts mainly. These three parts are mainly dealing with ethos, pathos. These are three, and then the content or the information component within it. So, when we are saying effective communication from the point of view of life skills, effective communication should come with ethos. That is, you should be having some mode and way of communication or communicating your thing to the other person, and you should develop that ethos part in such a manner that you are self aware that to what extent I am going to put words into it. Like so in simple words, if I say that using foul language, abusive words has become a trend these days. So a person using these abusive words is seen to be or assumed to be somebody who is very confident and is maybe a person who is dominating the conversation and is communicating something very effectively based on the number of abusive words used in a statement. Then Our ethos, or for that matter, effective communication ethos, does not allow any space for such kind of words, and they are not required at all, because we are taking it as a trend and extending it. It has become a trend, otherwise it is not required. Ethos says that you should be self aware that what kind of combination of words you want to use in your communication, and how you are using and placing words in an order and making a statement out of it determines that what kind of ethos or a person you are. So that is the ingredient 1 for effective communication. Second ingredient says that know the other person's emotional state and the state in which that person is before going ahead and initiating any communication. So, one is that you should be aware of yourself. Second is that you should know that whom you are communicating and what you are going to say, how much and to what extent that thing will impact or affect the other person. Third is the content. Content is very important. When we are talking about effective communication, if we miss this part, we actually have not discussed this thing at all. The reason here is that if content in your conversation is missing, nobody is going to care a damn that how words have you put in or used, as well as how you have constructed the statement, or as well as at the same point how well you have articulated the statement to make an impact on the other person, because the content in the communication is missing and it will not go anywhere. It will not take that communication in any direction. And hence, it is important that effective communication should have all these three elements in proper manner so as to reach it to the other participant or person. Then, how to ensure that communication is effective? These skills were communication skills. Effectiveness of it is determined by two main elements. First is information, another is emotion. So let me connect you with a example where we hear a song. We all do. We like hearing music. So music is a combination of some content. If you are looking and hearing good type of songs, then also emotions. So we are not required to remember or make an effort to remember what is we are hearing. That is something which automatically gets transformed and travel to our mind, and we remember that. That is one part. Similarly, if you are in a position to communicate with information and emotions ka optimum combination, then your communication is effective and will have a lasting effect. How that will be that the state of emotion has to be taken into account. Like as a student, a person or a school student does not have a combination of emotions while the person or the student is sitting in a classroom. So he's a child, she is a child, and then it is not we are required to, or as a teacher, school teacher, we are required to make an additional effort for that child to remember, associate everything with some activity, something which he has done, so that he is in a state to remember. Similarly, when we are communicating in a meeting, during a presentation, during a talk with a colleague as well, we are required to check with the information content that communication is having. Also, at the state of communication is important. Coming to the fourth element of core life skills is decision making. One, two, three points will take you to fourth. That is, all of these will combine and extend a decision making skill from that person. As we see that these all 10 skills are interlinked, and possessing only one in isolation will not help. We need a combination of these. So when we are saying that we are required as a teacher and as a faculty, we use Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is developed from the point of view of these elements only. Like when we want a student to have problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, creative thinking skills, and decision making skills, we are required to check and evaluate a student on that. That is how it is incorporated into teaching or a evaluation part. Critical thinking or creative thinking is one which will add an additional element to your decision making. Coming to point number six or skill number six, which comes around as interpersonal relationship skills, which is again the most important part. We have seen people not getting success, desired success, due success rather, if they do not have core skill called interpersonal relationship skills. As we move around and we have seen the changing landscape of changed in requirements from the companies, we are seeing people having increasing incidences of quiet quitting, you must be aware of. Then there are increasing incidences of low organizational or low loyalty of employees towards organizations. These somewhere are because or a resultant factor of changing interpersonal relationship skills and their definitions and their requirements. When most of the time, this generation, our generation and coming generations as well, are on mobile phones as well as are connected online digital platforms, these generations are lagging behind having optimum interpersonal relationships amongst each other. That binding is missing, and that is why it is important for us to impart them with that. Now, how this will help and how it as a life skill is important. When we are saying interpersonal relationship skills, we here mean that how you are dealing with your personal as well as professional relationships that we'll be looking at in further parts of the presentation. Coming to the point number seven is self awareness and building skills. Building skills is how you are building as an individual. As I would want to share a recent conversation here. While I was interacting with, as we have training programs here as well, international batches do come and we engage with them and we talk to them like over a lunch or a coffee discussion. I just happened to see that Nepal is having NPA, that non-performing assets. From the bank's point of view, it is very important. So Nepal NPA is the percentage is getting low or reducing. Nepal is having a low NPA percentage, which is a commendable job. And I just happened to ask them that what is the reason that are people not defaulting on loans, or what is the mechanism you are using that you have such a reducing percent of NPA at your country. So all of them, in fact, most of them had the same answer, which was more even more surprising, and that they said that it is in our culture only that people do not accept this fact that they are not repaying a debt, and they have this feeling that non-repayment of debt is not only a crime in the eyes of law, but it is something beyond that which is unacceptable altogether. So they do not have anything which we are not doing or any other country is not doing. It is just the building aspect, that how they have been progressing and building themselves, that they are not accepting the very point that how can you not pay a debt. That is where it is leading them, and that is where they have a lesser percentage of the same. So similar kind of interactions do happen. We come to know that there are some cultural aspects, there are some aspects which have built altogether a different DNA amongst those people who are behaving in a manner which is strongly acceptable and to be adopted by other nations as well. Excuse me. Coming to the eighth core skill which WHO has recommended, that is empathy. Empathy, we all know, we have been discussing about, we see that people are having empathy towards others and they would feel the same way, which never happens actually. But then people claim that they are in a position to feel in the same way the person is going through or feeling. And we could see that there were a number of initiatives, like recently COVID times could tell us that how much people were empathizing with others and how people were helping each other and dealing with the situation which they were facing in common. But that is not enough. Life skills ask you more than that, and it is expected that you should empathize in a manner which is actually required and not to the whims and till the whims and fancies or other comfort zones of yours. Then, coping with stress is the ninth skill which is recommended by WHO. Stress is a common topic as a counselor which we come across in people, and they are asking us to matlab, help them to deal, guide them to deal with. And you will find that majority of the cases we are finding these days which are coming to us reported and seeking counseling sessions are from students, because this young generation, if they do not have anything, they have stress. If they do not have any work to do, they are stressed. If they have many things to do, they are stressed. So that way coping with stress has become a crucial part, and it's ranked at the ninth course life skill. Now, coping with stress, how it brings and how it is relevant and what is our role in it. First is that we have to see that what are the stress points, which we all know. Then we have to reduce. This process is known to you. I'll just share an experience with you all here. One student, uh, she came for a counseling session. She was under again stress, and she was asking that despite of putting much more hard work in it and then doing a lot for that, she was appearing for interviews for some IT companies to join. Then she could not do that, and she was under a huge stress situation that so many efforts taken, so much of investment is invested by her parents, and she's not able to get a job. Then what she decided, after some discussion, she decided that she will now or first be going for an internship. Then she went for an internship in a good company and with not that good stipend, but experience she could obtain was of a higher level. I'll share that with you. Digital twins related. Digital twins is a most sought after area, and now she is well versed and at least at a better state with others or as compared to others. 6 months down the line, when she obtained a good desired amount of experience, which could take her to a better job, and then she could cope up with that situation very well. So point over here is that why I'm sharing this experience of mine here, that initially when she was here, she consulted and was asking quite a lot of questions and was under confusion to what to do and what not to do. Had it been that she was misguided or not having any plan in place to go for, that a student would not have seen a day like she's getting placed in one of the most top industries or companies in that industry. So coping with stress is something which takes time, and it is just a matter of time, nothing else. And how you are passing that or going through that time is important. That is it. 10th is coping with emotions. Emotional intelligence, which we talk about, is what is required. We have seen people having so much technical expertise but not having emotional intelligence, are not able to communicate themselves, their thoughts, and behave properly. And interpersonal skills is something which is there, uh, very poor or a weak area. And we have seen people miserably fail who are not having a EQ within them. Coming to skills which were recommended, we can say, by WHO, are almost discussed. Now, I would want to share with you all that what is I want to say and what is I want to contribute when it comes to life skills and how I see as the life skill uh, platter to be for us and for the generations coming. Before that, I would just want to ensure that is there a question from the audience? You can please ask. We have a good number or a group of 31 participants. That is 30, that includes me. 30 participants we have, and I'm sure there is something or the other on your mind which you want to ask and share at least, which is related to the session. Anybody? Yes, you can use chat box also for asking your questions. And in fact, I'll give you an idea which we are regularly coming across, that if you do not want to put your name and ask from your name, you can say, my friend faced this problem. So we are familiar with such kind of initial statements that my friend has experienced this. So you can initiate with that, my friend, my relative. We will welcome that also. So even if you do not want to share your experience, you can share your friend's experience as well. So can we have a question, or do we have a question rather? Okay, it seems audience is pretty comfortable and subscribing to what all I am sharing. Right. We will get back. Skills and beyond, where I want to mention that even though we have big organizations saying that what should be the 10 core skills, what I feel that people should have, and this generation should be taught for building resilience mainly. First point, resilience is something which is not there, and you can directly link it to the patience part also. If you see that building resilience is an important element and why it is important, then I would say that one should not only be told and or not always be asked to be thriving at every point and to be you can say to be s- we will link it with the mind and emotion, right? I'll here quote a story for you all, that one day what happened, one ghost catcher, he could catch a ghost. He caught that and placed it in a jar. Then that ghost catcher went in the market and tried selling it. That ghost catcher was trying to market and promote and sell that product, which is a ghost. And eventually he could see one rich businessman coming to him and asking that, what is that you are selling? Rich businessman asked. And ghost catcher said, it's a ghost and I'm selling it. If you want to buy, you can buy that. So he asked, what are the attributes or the selling points? Why should I buy your ghost? He said, this ghost is very powerful. One, he can perform many tasks in a minute's time, and you can give any work to him and he will do it for you. Okay, he said he was impressed. Then he said, fine, how much do I need to pay? He said, 500 rupees. He said, if this ghost is so powerful and so of a high utility, how can you charge so less, or how you are pricing it at a very less amount? A ghost catcher said, this ghost has one problem. If he is not given work, he eats up the master. That if he'll ask for work and you are not able to give him, he will attack you and eat. So that rich businessman gave a thought. He said, I am having business across countries, and it will not be a situation where I'm not having any work. So this ghost will be busy throughout, and I should go and buy. This is a good deal. He bought, came back home. Then he released that ghost from that jar. Ghost said, work, work, give me work. Rich businessman said, okay, he had already a lot of a list of work, you can say, to be given and to get done. He gave that all of those jobs, works to be done from or to the ghost, and he started doing it. And he could see in no time, in a week's time, you say, he could do all the pending jobs of businessmen. Then businessman was under a confusion that how should I deal with this, because he has done all the jobs in a minute's time and I'm actually left with hardly anything to be given. Then that rich businessman got worried. This thought of getting killed by that ghost worried him a lot. He could not sleep. He was on a his health was getting deteriorated, and so he was under a tension or a confusion state always. Then days passed. He was worried. He couldn't sleep, and then a monk came to their village. He went and visited that monk. He asked that monk that what should I do, because this ghost will kill me. Monk said it is a very simple solution. Just ask that ghost to buy a bamboo. Ask that ghost to place that bamboo in your yard, and ask that ghost to move up and down when you do not have any work to be given. Simple solution. Monk gave. Businessman applied, and he was quite happy. Like, yes, he is now engaged and busy and I'm safe. So whenever that businessman had work, he used to give that to ghost, and that ghost used to get that work done. And when the businessman did not had anything to give, he used to ask him to climb that bamboo and come down. That way his problem was solved. Now, you will ask for a moral. Obviously, a story has to have a moral, and it has ended. So, the moral of the story is all complicated problems do not have complicated solutions. Solutions can be simple as well. This is the thing which we can outrightly gauge from the story and say that yes, this is the moral and it fits well and we are satisfied. But the story is having a different angle to it, that the ghost which is referred in the story is our mind, and our mind is a ghost which, if is not having any work, will eat you up, will kill you. Like when we hold counseling sessions for people, and when we ask them to get busy, to get engaged in something or the other, when they are in any state, so it is the ghost. An idle mind is a ghost, and when you are not able to put your mind to work, that will kill you. And this is how it is important to build yourself in a manner that you always are engaged, or rather your mind is engaged in some or the other productive work. If you are not able to engage your mind in that work, that will definitely not let you live. And this is how you are going to train your mind too, that what is required for me when I'm not having work, what should be done, and so that plan has to be in place while you want to deal with any of the skills to be built, or to think beyond the level which you want. Now we have seen, or we have been looking at skills or aspects which we want to build. Like we're talking here about resilience, how to build resilience, compassion, or any skill for that matter. You are required to have a plan in place that will enable your mind to develop these skills and act accordingly. Second is compassion, which is the most, or you can say, missing skill amongst people these days, particularly. Compassion is something which I say that people should have, and in the generations coming, they should be having it. As a parent, as a faculty, as a trainer, as a mentor, as a guide, I do want that my kids, my students should have compassion by default. They should look at somebody who is in state of help, or who is in a requirement situation, that these people should come forward and help that person, because times currently are putting us to a requirement of such sort. Third and most important skill, we can say, is inclusivity. Inclusivity is because of changing our dimensions of looking at people are different these days, because we have compartments of placing people into different segments. Earlier we had used to discuss on the basis of genders, then started discussing on the basis of caste, communities, and so on. Now we are doing it on the basis of degrees and geographical locations maybe. And so these compartmentalization of people, segregating of people and ranking them in an order that he is superior, she is not, or any, or A is superior and B is not, is bringing us to a position then we are not looking at people from one lens, which is the high required skill, or the most required skill to be possessed. Inclusivity is something which all the organizations want. Now, how do we link that, and how we are and why we are discussing this? Organizations these days are wanting people to have a high inclusivity skill within them. We are looking at different organizations who want that their people should have such skill. Number one thing, why we are discussing, because we are building employees for them. When we are talking about a proper fitment of my candidate to a job, I want to see that what organizations need. And from the life skill perspectives, organizations want inclusivity to be there in that employee. Beyond your technical abilities, technical skills, organizations want to see that how much or how better a fit that person is to work or to make the work into teams, how that person is better to lead teams. If that person is having those compartments in his mind, and his mind is we can say compressed with these thoughts that these breed is better and that breed is not better, they are good in mathematics, they are not good in English, so that way that person will not be able to lead a common team. Inclusivity does not say that you are not allowed to differentiate amongst people, but inclusivity says that differentiation should be on the basis of their skills and not on the basis of any other attribute. That is one. Second is how we are going to deal with people who are not having this, or how we can inculcate certain things. Number one is, because as we all know, it is a well known thought, if you have brain, you have bias. If you can think, you will differentiate. If you are programmed and conditioned in a manner that right from the beginning we have been told that these people are superior and these are not, inclusivity and imparting those skills within them in a 2 years program time or 4 years degree to duration time will be difficult for a faculty, obviously. But here is that that person should be told and taught this much, that this differentiation, what should be the basis and how much it will be productive for him to differentiate amongst them. Organizations these days, this is the third point which I want to put in front of you for your for the further discussion maybe, that organizations are employing people all around the world, and they do not allow such a mindset that differentiates between people on these bases which are totally non productive in nature. So, inclusivity is one which we need to impart, and then only we can extend it to the generation coming ahead. Fourth is learning agility. Learning behavior and learning agility is often the confused terms. Learning behavior is something which will, as a ability, you will extend that learning ability I am having and I want to learn. That is first part. But learning agility is in the behavior of that person. When agility is built in amongst the students or within yourself for the first concern, that learning agility should be there in humans, in amongst us. It takes us to a different level. Agility is something which is coming from within. I do want to learn every day. It should come from within. I have had and obtained a degree once. That is my ability. But I do want to learn every day is my agility. And looking at the world around, you cannot escape or you cannot grow. You cannot move a step ahead if you are not having a strong learning agility within you. So this is one skill which I am personally, I do highly recommend. For that matter, these resilience, compassion, inclusivity, learning agility are a strong recommendation from me. But learning agility is something which one should possess, and there is no alternate to it. Fifth is understanding systems. When we are working for an organization and we are asking a batch of students to work for different organizations, we should ask them and make them understand systems. See, if you will ask me, I have been from a city which is once you can say a very small city for that matter. When you go out, you can come to know that how small Nagpur is. And being in the same radius, studying in the same college, then teaching the same institute, and then now getting out and experiencing different altogether a different experience outside, is something which has told me that understanding systems is very important. And we should make our students understand this, how much is important to understand a system. Coming and working in a college wherein my faculties and mentors were always there to guide me to a altogether different world and ocean, that nobody is here bothered about what the other person is doing and how much problems that person is facing, has made me an altogether different person. And always being guided and supported and motivated phase, say I had been or I was required to shift to a place when there's a competition, then systems, then every day a new experience and every day something new you have to deliver as a performance parameter, then you are finding it very difficult if you are not able to understand systems. Thanks to the previous experiences and learning experiences extended, and they have made me understand these systems in a very short duration of time. And then it is again recommended, and that is the reason it is recommended from my side, that understanding systems is always important. How things are placed, how things are working, how things are moving ahead in an organization. You can attribute it to political part of any organization, or SOP part, or anything. But systems are something which broadly covers everything which an employee needs to understand. And when we are talking about as a faculty to enrich the fitment of a candidate for a job, we should tell that person that understanding systems is as important as understanding your profile of what you are expected to do there. Because delivery is a combination of all these ingredients, only then they'll be able to. That is one. Another is communicating across generations. Now you will feel that how effective communication, then every time this resource person is stressing upon this, but this is a different point altogether. And you can say that it comes from the and or is a subset of effective communication. But I'll put it like communicating across generations is important when you want to build a life skill. You cannot say that this person is quite old to understand my statement or my point, and you cannot at the same time say this is too young person or too young a candidate to understand my point. Because it is your responsibility to build yourself to communicate in a manner that a person who can communicate across generations and can make his or her point understood by the people irrespective of their age, their cohorts, or anything with respect to that. So I will see. We can take a break here, uh, Ritam sir, with your permission. Right. So right. Okay. Fine. So, would want to know if there are any points to mention or concerns or questions we can take up. Otherwise, we can go for a break and come back by 8:15. You are saying, sir? Okay. Fine. 8:15. We'll be back. Right. So I'm audible. Right. So welcome back, everyone. And as it is rightly said, that if you are awake, it is the most important thing to be celebrated. If you are alive, it has to be celebrated. And the reason is, 250,000 people die, and actually they do not wake up only. And then there are a million of people who are losing at the same time their dear or near one. And when you know that you yourself and people around you are still alive, living this life, and during your life they are with you, this is a sufficient and an enough reason to be celebrated. So one should not be dejected with what they do not have, but should be celebrating that they do have this life and they are living it well. So let us continue with such and like life skills which are required for us. I just want a confirmation from you, sir, that if the presentation is visible. Right. So we are good to start. So how we are seeing that where these life skills are getting generated from, and where from we are looking and mentioning this, that it is the source which decides that what type of skills person has to possess. So we say that what skills are required for somebody to be successful in his or her life are the possible or expected or desired life skills that person should possess. So naturally, this brings an equation that life skills which are required, the left hand side of the equation and the right side of the equation too, that the skills which are required are highly and strongly determined by the skills required for or to have a successful life. So it is important for us to understand that where these skills are coming from and where they are directed to. So it is not just that empathy is a skill and you take it and I grasped it and adopted it and done. It has to be very well placed in an order, that for what and where this skill will be utilized. So we'll be now discussing what are the skills which this changing times are projecting in front of us, that these should be the skills possessed for success. Then what are the power skills, or you can say the need of the hour skills, which are required to be there in a person or a human being. As you can see on screen, that there are various skills such as optimism, curiosity, tenacity, flexibility, integrity, learning, generosity, joy, teamwork, humility, drive, ethics, followership, time management, happiness, patience, kindness, forgiveness, and awe. So let me put a question in front of you. Out of all, which is the most important skill you see in this matrix? Also tell me which is a very difficult skill for us to possess. If anyone can come in with an answer, would want to see the audience here. Yes, for that I think this presentation has to be there on screen. Yes, anyone, please. Skills for success, what, which one of this displayed skills which are there on your screen you see that is the most difficult to adapt and which is the most important also? If your answers are two different things, that is also welcome. And if your answer is one, which we'll be discussing, can anyone come up with an answer? No? So fine, I'll tell, because you are not coming up with an answer, so I have to, as the question is already in front of you. Now, to categorize one, to be the most important skill, which I see as, is curiosity. Curiosity is something which will bring you to a position that you always want to know everything about everything, right? Your answer to it can be different, as you have not answered, so I'll dominate my answer, and that has to be accepted because nobody's questioning also. Right. So curiosity is one which will always keep me in a position that I always want to know that what this will turn into and what this will result into. That is why every time, for any decision I'll take, for any communication or statement I'll make, or anything which is extended from my side, if I have curiosity in each and everything, I would always be wanting to know that where this thing will end up and how it will result. Yes, sir. Right. So we have a reply that patience is difficult to adopt, and this is the answer which we have received from Swapna Ghatole, madam. Thank you so much for being participative. So yes, definitely, patience is something which is very much required and very difficult to adopt. And I'll share an incident with you on this. First, we will discuss about the curiosity, then we'll come up to the patience part. Now, uh, curiosity, we were discussing about that this is the most important element which always will want me to be in a position to understand about that thing, as well as to understand the possible repercussions of the action, statement, communication, or decision taken, and so. So, this is the most important skill which will already or will always result in learning new things, being ethical, empathizing, having a time management, kindness, happiness also. That is relative at maximum of the time, but most of the skills will be a resultant factor of curiosity to from my point of view. Now coming to the patience element of it, again I have a story to quote. Gautam Buddha had his disciples who used to travel around the world, but they had a rule that 8 months they will travel, and 4 months of the rainy season they'll stay in one place. So, what they did, there was a lady who saw this group of monks or disciples or followers of Buddhaji who were passing uh, from her place or her house. She went to that disciple and asked him that, since she was already aware that people or these monks, followers, stay at one place for 4 months, she said that as it is, we can see rainy season is approaching, so please stay at my place for next 4 months. I want to uh, like serve you and be. I will take complete care that way. The other disciples were in a we can say furious uh, emotion, having they were having so much of anger within them. Then they went to Buddhaji. They said that he is being asked by that female to stay in his house for 4 months. So Buddhaji listened to all of their fury, anger, their jealous, their comments, and everything they wanted, his disciples wanted to tell him. He just had a patience listening, and then he asked that disciple to come, and he asked that person, "What was your reply to that female?" He said, I replied, the disciple who had been offered to stay in the lady's place for 4 months. He said, I answered that I'll ask Buddhaji and will come back with an answer from him. So you tell me, sir, that if you permit, I'll go and live at her place. If you do not, I'll be staying here or wherever you want. That lady appeared to be the most beautiful lady of the town, as well as the rich, the highly financially and well financially placed, as well as she had a big huge house and was very popular for all her beauty attributes and financial stability and so within the town. So this brought more fury and anger amongst the other disciples, that why she has chosen him to be at his place for next coming 4 months. But Buddhaji, as we all know, he's an epitome of patience and so many other qualities within him. He asked and gave permission to his disciple to stay at her place for 4 months. All disciples were into a negative emotion, and they were shouting like anything, and they were not able to grasp that very thing, that how he's allowed to stay with that female for 4 complete months. This by this at this Buddhaji replied, see, I could see in my disciple's eyes that he will not deviate from his path, and it will either bring a more stronger, or you can say a stronger disciple to me, or that person was never a fit a disciple to me at all. That was one. Second thing is that either the girl will turn into a disciple, or she will make him turn as or a normal human, normal toward normal human life. These two can be the outcomes. And as far as I know, I am only keeping that person on that exam, or you can say an evaluation. The result will come after 4 months. You just need to have is patience, and that patience, which is very difficult. 4 months is a long duration of time, and it is said by Buddhaji himself, as well as studies are in place, that it requires 4 days, 4 months for you to get accustomed to any new thing. If you will develop a habit, it will take you 4 continuous days of that application. So similar, like when we go to a new place, it is a hotel or something. When we go to bed to sleep, we find it very difficult to sleep. So first day you will not sleep at all. That is researched and proven, and if you're not comfortable for that matter. Second day you will be a little at a comfort level. Third day you'll find that you could sleep a little. Fourth day you'll find yourself completely comfortable with that surrounding room and everything, which earlier on the first day was same as it was on the fourth day. So it's a kind of a proven thing. So if you are in a position to adapt or not adapt, keep patience or not keep patience for 4 days, or if it is a bigger thing for 4 months, then that is the duration of time which is uh, expected to pass. And as all we know, that after 4 months, not only the female as well as his disciple came back, and they both were worshipping, started worshipping Buddha. And female said that as instructed by you, she was narrating this to Buddhaji, that as instructed by you, I tried each and every thing to deviate this person from his goals. But instead of I could deviate him, he brought me to your path, and I am here. And now onwards, I'm offering all my financial wealth as well as my big home bungalow for all the disciples to stay for 4 months, as every year they find it very difficult to find a place for 4 months where they would be staying. So this is how it ended up. The point over here is that patience is something very difficult to adopt, is what we are having in our mind. As we just now discussed about how mind can be trained by us. The similar manner, patience is also something which can be adopted by us. It will either take 4 days or 4 months for you to do that. I know that how simple and easy I'm sounding is as difficult as it is for you to do and adapt that, but it will help you or help anybody for that matter who is looking after or finding it difficult to develop and adapt any of the, for that matter, any quality or placed on the screen. It is not that difficult. It will either take you 4 days to 4 months to develop that. Consistency is important over here. So, difficulty in adopting anything is here in the mind. And if you are training your mind in such a manner that you can do it, anybody and everybody can do it. So, for a sports person, it is very difficult to develop any of the quality required. For any person to be a better person of where he was to a person to where he wanted and where he can be, it is again very difficult for them to adapt. So, it is us. Yes, sir. Sure, I'll take that up. What about drive? Drive. Can you elaborate on this? That what exactly you want to ask? Yes, Miss Dipali. Can we have some elaboration from you that exactly what you want to ask on this? Okay, so you want to understand about drive. Driving factor is right. Now, when we are talking about driving factors are those points which we see are important for us. See, we all have people around us whom we see as our daily motivation. Like it can be your spouse, children, mother, father, sister, anybody around you, your own mentor, your guide, anybody who you see. Like I'll place it this way, that why do people seek for advice from somebody, or there is a growing culture of having a guru under your means everybody want to opt for a guru. We have subsections sections under each community wherein we are seeing people are delivering speech every day, performing rituals and are acting as gurus for people. Why this culture has been developed and built up like this, and to such an extent that people are following them blindly, even if they are gurus who are getting accused for some thing or getting punished for something, they are not ready to believe at all that their guru can do that. That is a general statement I am passing, not nothing in particular to somebody, not pointing anyone out. But the point over here is that people are looking for that driving factor which can take them from one point to another at a certain stage of time. Like we have a life cycle, now infancy, young age, then maturity, and then decline. What where the problem lies is when you are from your young zone shifting to the maturity stage of your life cycle, you find it very difficult to find those driving factors, because initially to start with, everybody is doing a job, I need also a job. He has got 14 lakh package, I need 16 lakh package. So these are the driving factors which human have already decided and enlisted that what you should be taking to drive your race. Like that is fine. Another, then everybody is getting married, so I should also get married. Everybody around me and my batchmates are having kids, so I should also get. So these are the driving factors. When after a certain point of time, these driving factors will suddenly vanish. Now people are busy in their lives. Now what should drive you? So people take these driving elements. Who could take parents as their driving elements will be driving their goals across their life as per their parents' likings. Then spouse, then kids. Children can be a major driving factor. But those all driving factors have a lifetime or a span through which they will be along with you. After that, you will again in a position wherein you do not see any driving factor or a motivation for you to go from one phase to another. What should I do after here? Then you will see people have joined some organization, some political organization maybe, or some group, or some guru under them who are they are going regularly and doing what they are asking them to do and following them. So people are wanting to have driving factors. Now it is up to you which factor you want to select. I am not saying that selecting A, B, C is good and D, E, F is wrong, but you have to select a proper driving factor. It's just the selection, and you do not have to do that. All your effort is before the selection. Once you are through and being decided upon that what and who will be a driving factor, that person will take you from one level to another. You then do not have to worry about. All your worries will last till the time you are able to select your driving factor. Like I see as my father to be my driving factor. So all my decisions are rotated, all my actions are rotated around how will he feel when I'll be able to accomplish this. So he's my driving factor, right? And then similarly, one can have number of driving factors like that. And this same principle applies to followership also. The integrity or the intensity with which you are following a person depends upon how hard or how strongly you wanted that person to be a driving factor in your life. So that is how it works. Drive factor you have to select, and that is important. Was I able to answer your question, Dipali ma'am? Right. So thank you so much. So we will move ahead. Now, these are the factors which we have been discussing: forgiveness, kindness, small words, big things to be performed, and which generosity, like flexibility. All these terminologies we know by definition and we know how difficult they are to apply. But as I said, everything which I'll be telling you will come with a manual of how we will obtain them in life. And I told you that it takes 4 days, 4 months job to have anything imbibed into you. If you want to inculcate any or adopt any skill, habit, quality, then you will be at a different level altogether from where you had come. Another thing is, like we know, uh, Mother Teresa, we all know about her. She used to have the most effective communication I could see. With minimum of words, she could communicate maximum of what she wanted to say always. We have seen her as a person full of generosity, kindness, patience, forgiveness, and so. So you need not fit a one person example in all the boxes which you can see on screen. There cannot be one. And at the same time, I'll say you cannot obtain all of them, but you have to pick and choose and select which one you want and which one you would select over the another. Because at the same time, you cannot have everything. Like similar to a profiting organization will not be having 100% ethical business practices. That is proven, right? And always I'm saying, right? So this is a absolute term. And then it will like generosity, teamwork, ethics, empathy, time management. These are so many skills which areas which we could see, but they cannot be obtained at the same time by one person at the same level and practiced at the same pace. But then you have to pick and choose what and which are those which are required, and at the same time which I'm emphasizing more, that you have to choose over the others, that through which you cannot be or you won't be able to. Because see, at the same time, like we always talk about balancing this over the other, balancing this with the other, but this balance never happens. It is like when you are balancing one thing, other thing will get disturbed. You will not be able to have them at par or at the same level at any point of time. You are just shifting your attention, your effort to one and the another, and thinking that yes, I am able to balance it. A simple example of work life. Simple example of working personal and professional life. It is not a gender element, it is for all. When we are saying that if we are not able to, or if you are wanting to have a work life balance, it will never come to a point wherein you will feel that yes, I am good at personal as well as at professional, and both are at par and at the same level, and I could do it. No, nobody will be able to achieve that position. It is very difficult and almost impossible. We are looking at these things, we have been talking about these things, and we want everybody's intervention to let us achieve that stability and balance, but it will not do that. When you will focus on your personal life, your professional life will get affected. When you will focus on your professional life, your personal life will get affected. But the quantum, intensity, and the level to which you want to get them affect or get affected is to be selected by you. And that is your decision, your take, and completely your call, that how much you can compromise on one over the other, and to what extent you can do that, what will be the severity and what will be the frequency of the same. That is to be decided. You cannot have a balance between, and be it be any a person in the world who would claim to have achieved both, I would want to meet him or her. As I said, it is not a gender specific thing, it will be applicable to all genders and human beings across. So, are there any questions or points to be made? Oh, okay, we do not have any. Right, we'll continue. Thank you, Preetham sir, for coordinating it very well. Please do let me know if there are any points or questions here. Right. So now we'll discuss about the changing positions, like planets change, no? These needs also are changing. And like we had been listening, hearing, learning about Maslow's need hierarchy. Now we have a different need hierarchy altogether. And Maslow's need hierarchy is the topic which I must mention here, that can be molded at any point, any way, and can be presented in the manner you want them, audience, to explain. Right. So this is the easiest thing that I wanted to tell you about, that how Maslow's hierarchy has changed and how people and younger generations are responding to these changes. First is survival. Now, first, let me brief you about what are the changed or different attributes which I could highlight here about the coming generations and the generations which are here. Coming generations is we are also young, but then coming generations in the sense where that the students we will be required to deal with are not from our age, will be from the generations upcoming. So these generations are not having very much future planning orientation. This is my reading. I have not read any research article on that by far. Your thinking might differ, and hence the course of action can be different. But from my point of view, this generation is not planning future, right? Which is actually the changing the requirement also, that earlier we could predict next 10 years, 5 years at least. Forecasting and prediction were for next 5 years, 10 years. Now these things are irrelevant, and in any point, research point for that matter, and any point in life, nobody can forecast that what will happen next. And after COVID and such situations and events like these, we are nobody in a position to tell you that what will happen next day. So that is one. This generation has seen that era to from a very close lens, and that's the reason this generation does not want to plan ahead. They are only concerned about their very next meal, and that too not how it will be earned and how it will be cooked, because they have all Zomatos and Swiggies of the world on their apps. But that is sufficient for them if they have a provision for the same, and that is all. If you have a provision for your next meal, you are the richest person from this generation's point of view. That is one. Second, this generation will not have any, as they do not have any plans in place for their future. They do not have any plans for how they are spending their money, how they'll be budgeting their expenses. At one end, you'll find them crying over the low income. At the other end, they will be spending on luxuries. So this way, this generation will differ and totally behave opposite from what they feel and what they are concerned about and what they are doing. There is no you can say match and parallel relationship between these three. So this generation has different attributes altogether, and which will not rotate around survival. They are having different set of needs, and from a point of view of, not from the point of view of behavior, from but from the point of view of developing them for an organization, as that is what our job is, then we want them to be groomed for organizations who are giving them challenging tasks. Challenging tasks is the only factor which will keep them engaged in one job. Otherwise, they'll keep on hopping from one job to another. Moonlighting in certain elements will always pop up for this generation, and you'll find organizations recruiting in bulk and sending them off and saying a bye bye in bulk, because this relationship is not set. Organizations at the same time and employees at the same time. Earlier we used to hear organizations are saying कि employability skills nahi hai, and they are to be developed amongst students, and they used to ask institutes to develop that. Now the time has come that institutes and colleges will also ask these organizations to give a conducive environment to the candidates for them to be in the job. These people are not working for salaries. It is statistics which says that these generations will earn less as compared to what their parents used to earn, but their set of requirements from life are totally different, and they are clear about it, right? And that is how this total Maslow's hierarchy has had a shift, that from your basic needs to your all other needs there. uh, these needs which comes as security, self expression, significance is important. This generation more want mental energy to be harnessed and developed. This generation will more want their spiritual quotient to be higher. This generation does not want a fat salary and stay for years together in an organization. We as a employee are staying with organizations for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Our parents stayed for lifelong time with the companies, and maybe post life also, you do not know. But then our generation and the coming generation is different in the sense that they do not want to stay with the organization, they just want the job of their liking. And if that job is not engaging and challenging enough and not giving them their level of energy, and these quotients are not managed and maintained well, they will not stay in job, and they will leave. They will not be bothered about that what will be their course of action and source of earning for coming months, but their concern will only be that if I'm not feeling engaged in this assignment, I'll not take it up. And we can see that clearly because we have been interacting with these people every day. So these are the things which not only teachers but organizations should take into account if they want to have employees for a longer duration. Because at the same time, organizations are also investing on these employees, and they should understand that why and what will hold them here for a longer time. That is one. Now, how it is significant and relevant, and how to substantiate this with or in terms of life skills, I want to say that these are the skills which are these are the areas through which we can identify the required life skills of the future generations, which I'll be telling you next. Beyond survival, security, mind, spiritual is what they are looking for. So they want meaning in their life, they want freedom to have and to extend skills and talents, they want to be accepted and valued, and their survival is their fitness, sleep, rest, nutrition. They are not going around or looking at longer term duration jobs or jobs which are giving them a settled family, then a house at one city, and so their needs are different from what we experienced. Now, how organizations are coming over it and what is their course of action when they want to deal. It is not that only we are discussing this, these organizations are also discussing this and taking ahead with some solutions like meaningful work, strong management, positive health and well-being, growth and opportunity, trust in the organization are some parts and aspects where organizations are also working in a different manner. Not that they did not work earlier, but now their course of action is totally guided by the changed landscape of needs and requirements of their future generation workforce. Like we discussed about inclusivity, then similarly there are other focus areas, these and psychological emotional well-being which these organizations are working for their employees on, and they want that they should stay for long, not these sort of situations wherein quiet quitting is happening and moonlighting is happening and similar. Any questions on this? Like, so to move ahead, we'll see how the changing DNA of requirements from workforce is responding to us when it comes to life skill settlement. So we want skills that are evolving, upskilling requirements that are evolving. This I have taken from KPMG Future of Work Study report, and you can see. I will share the link also for you to better understand it, that the complete report was exhaustive and telling us about what how this DNA has changed and how it will change the set of requirements and so the skill sets required. So skills are evolving. Workforce needs up constantly upskill itself and stay relevant. That what is happening around you should know. When we know about everything which is happening around us, from 5G, we are shifted to ONDC. So much is the development and so much is the shift in no time. Then you can say that staying relevant is something which is everyday job. Then shift from areas, roles, that evolving skill set means focus is shifting and your roles are shifting. Like earlier, we used to see people joining banks as clerk had this in their mind that they will retire as clerk only. But now you do not see such thing, and now you would not see similar thing. Like we have specializations, so there are people with specializations A and B and doing some other job on fields and industries. So they are evolving every day, their focus are shifting as per the requirements, which is good. Then um, talent has to be taken care or taken to a next level. Organizations are increasingly relying on economy, contingent workforce to bridge the skill gap. And how and what we can do, what as an intervention we can extend from our side is that we have seen like many of the programs these days, post graduation programs, UG programs are taking altogether a different viewpoint, and a window of their looking at life skills is totally different. I'll quote here as an example, like we have seen that many of the big institutes are providing courses wherein they have or they are placing compulsorily for 1 month to their candidates are placed at some place in Himalaya where they do not have any network, they do not have any facility, and usually the luxury of life which we have here at our places, that nothing related to remotely, there is nothing related to it. So that is how they have shifted their way of teaching students, even because it is proven time and again, it is not only the technical skills which will take your student to a level, but it will be beyond that. So these students are being trained to live life without any resources. How it is. So changing workforce needs, old models of talent management, workflows planning, looking at things, right skill set, environment related, and many things are redeveloped, reshaped, and revisited in the light of changing requirements. So curriculum colleges approaches teaching is also changing. Why do we think this experiential learning and this life skill learning is imparted and made compulsory for us to understand and deliver it to students henceforth? Why? Because these are the experiences which we have been looking at, and we want that such and like experiences should be given to students. Like there is a course in another leading institute wherein they place these students to rural area for 1 month's duration of time, wherein they are asked to develop solutions to their problems while living in a place where there is no electricity. So right from the beginning, to get all the approvals to get electricity there in that place is the job which students have done. And we know that they have been popular for this job because they institutes also are wanting them to have real life skills to be imparted. Similar is the case with defense candidates. When we see NDA or military candidates being trained, they are why they are having a different edge over the others is the outlook and the life skills set they possess. So we have seen and discussed very well. Now, I would want to focus on our role as faculties. That what is that we will take from it, and what is that we are expected to do with it. Right? The roadmap and action points which I want to suggest you as a faculty, I have segregated in four segments. As a teacher, I see that we have our role towards learning with that we have to have certain pedagogies as experiential learning and some related to our subjects, related to our courses, which will bring in life skill element also when we are teaching them. So we have this common notion, no, that our students are there with us for one particular course, and one particular course for 2 years, for 4 years, or for 5 years. What difference can we make? Because they are already having an upbringing of certain sort that we cannot make a permanent or a long term change in them. We are helpless because they are coming from a background like this. So we do have certain excuses and elements in our behavior that we as a teacher cannot make a difference. It is because we can make a difference, that is why we are made and we asked to have hands on life skills, and that is why we can extend it. So definitely I agree that in 6 months' time or 2 years' time, you cannot bring in a change. But life skill is not something which is given, imparted, and adopted. It has to be a process. Somewhere or the other, you will bring in, you will create a space in the mind of that student which will respond at the time of the activity, decision, or anything which that person will face in life. And definitely that person will remember you, and that is what we want, and that is what we are expecting as a teacher also. That was from the point of view of learning. So we are required to impart these life skill based approaches as well while we are teaching to our students, to make them think, to make them have decisions accordingly. So as supporter to stakeholder, I see that our role as a teacher, as a faculty, is, since we are taking up and holding this program in a faculty development session, we need to know that we are a supporter to these stakeholders. We are not only required to have, or we do not have our responsibility towards learning, but we do have responsibilities towards stakeholders who are expecting and keeping faith on us, that students, parents, and employers. These are the major three stakeholders which I could see that we should be performing as a supporter role to them. Life skills imparted in a student will result in a better parent in future, and for an employer to have a better and a long term employee through student only. So it is through student only which you are required to do. As it is, as a parent, we do it for our kids. Our kids, how they are responding to a situation is a reflection of how much well and strong life skills are imparted by us in them. So similarly, my students are a showcase, or you can say a reflection of how well I have imparted life skill in that student to behave in public, to be in an employment, and to work there with an organization. Then, third role I assume of us or by us as an employee towards an organization. Organization commitments we remember. Employee commitments we forget. We also have some commitments towards organization, and to extent to which we will be able to meet those commitments are to extend with the strength of life skills we are possessing. So as an employee towards the organization, we hold this life skill related responsibility that our behavior, our conduct towards our stakeholders, towards learning, and also and all other activities which connect us with our employer, that is the organization for which you as a faculty are working, should deliver that. Then comes our role as a researcher. Being a postdoctoral researcher, if I do not talk about what is the area of research asking you to have or expecting you to have, then uh, the presentation is half done. So that is how I wanted to refer here, that we as a faculty do have a role as a consultant, as a researcher, for a sponsoring agency also. That agency is investing on us, looking at our credentials. Then we should possess proper compassion, proper delivery points, action points to deliver as expected. It is not just meeting the requirements, it is extending what is expected out of you. So if you are not able to reflect these life skills into your conduct under these four areas, this life skill impartment and adaptation is halfway. Then coming towards the life skill set which we expect, or which we want younger generations to possess is, as listed in front of you, that technical skills, one; self awareness skills, two, which we have been discussing. Like technical skills, for that matter, we say communication skills, skill set which is required for you to perform your profile related job. Self awareness is, we have discussed this. Relationship related skills are something which our students and future generations should be imbibed. We can see that how much is the uh, disturbance, we can say, right, can be a better word, and the complications in relationships these generations are facing. And we should bring them up, and we should develop them from the point of view of having a clarity in that, and having a, we can say, a space wherein you are adjusting as well as making somebody adjust. So skills, relationship skills is altogether a different topic for a longer duration, but then we should focus on that also as a teacher, as a mentor, and as a faculty. Then survival skills, as I told you, that many big institutes are making their students go to certain assignments for a month's duration wherein they do not have any facility at all. They are required to survive on their own skills. uh, it is not only restricted to defense courses these days, it is expected from everybody to have these skills. And looking at the changing and the uncertain times today, we can say that survival skills is something which we should be teaching everybody. Survival skills does not mean that you should have a good self defense, or some agenda related to any other political view. But then survival skills is related to that how will you survive. For that matter, if you do not have mobile for 1 week, people will not be able to, people will start reacting in a manner that they have lost a body part from their body. So survival skills are something which should teach you your dependence, or lesson, or teach you to reduce your dependence on the um, things which you are living with every day. Money management skills is another part which I have already referred, that the generation coming up is not good at money management, drafting a budget for them, their income, as though they are earning limited, but then their expenses, their budgets, their requirements, and their needs are not in congruence. Housekeeping skills. We have been listening every day, males, females, irrespective of genders, everybody should know about these skills, and that is very well understood and been practiced across. Wellness skills is another which you we can see that much of the importance and popularity have been given to wellness and housekeeping skills these days. Our main focus is to retain the importance of these skills, as well as to stress upon more of the importance related to relationship skills and survival skills too, from my point of view, as I have observed. So that was all about the session. We'll like to complete the session with this quote: we have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one. It's a famous quote, well known. You must have read it before also, but then there should be reminders every day for us to remember and plan our course of action. So I complete the session here. Any questions? If you want, you please post it on the chat box, or you may ask. Anybody? Right. If there are no questions, thank you, Dipali, madam, for responding. If there are no questions, you can even comment on certain elements or want to add to, or otherwise, or any point you want to mention here, which is specifically maybe missed or not covered, or maybe you want to have a special mention about anything from the audience. Right. Um, you need not be formal. I'm saying I'm a part of the team itself. It is like coming back home and hearing a thank you from a family member. So there's nothing to mention or be thankful about. It was an honor and a privilege, as well as much more an excitement for me to present and to have interaction with Pai sir and Prashant sir and all the faculty team of department. In fact, I could see Shah ma'am has also joined. I was wanting her to be here. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here. Thank you. You can close session now. Okay. All right. Have a nice day.